And I never wanted to be a YouTuber, so I can't just switch gears and start doing like daily lifestyle vlogs or something. I don't want to be a YouTuber. The whole point of starting this was to just share my experience. It's been a very, very long time since I have sat down in front of the camera and just sort of talked through something. And so I think it's about time, and I think I want to talk to you guys about something. I've been in a very contemplative mood the last few days. I think a lot of it is because I really feel stabilized on my medication, and so it's just been putting a lot of stuff into perspective for me. And the short story is I feel better than I have in a very, very long time. My day to day is better. My relationships with people are better. I am just overall so much more calm and stable. At least I feel like I am. And that has made me kind of put a perspective on my whole life, right? Especially the last several years of not feeling that way very significantly. I thought about writing out what I wanted to say so that I could present it in a way that, was very coherent and encompasses everything that I want to say. But I also realized that's not my style. I very much do a stream of consciousness at the camera, especially when I'm in moods like this. And I kind of still want to be true to myself because I feel like I end up saying and thinking through things that I might not have if I were sitting down with an intent to write something out. So I'm going to bring you along on the ride like I used to do in the old days. I was already, like I said, in a contemplative mood, but I finally watched the Biggest Loser documentary on Netflix. Honestly, I've been holding off on doing that. I just wasn't really sure what kind of feelings it would drum up for me. And so, I wanted to watch it. A lot of my friends were like, oh my gosh, this was so good. And it left me with a lot of feelings. Most particular, some of the things that Tracy had said really resonated with me and put me even more in a contemplative mood after watching the show, because essentially she feels that she will never be at her lowest weight that she was on the show, but that's okay. And she has done so many things, and she is so grateful for her life and her ability to run a marathon, for example. It was one of the things that she had mentioned, and it was very body positive. I've been trying my whole life to get to a body positive space, especially when the body positive movement really started gaining some traction before I had lost all of my weight. I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be someone who loved myself no matter what size I was, and loved my body for what it's capable of, and not necessarily for what size it is, how small it is, how attractive I feel, all of those things. And what it really boiled down to for me, and I think for a lot of people, is that my weight, although it was making me feel self-conscious about myself and hard to feel comfortable in my own skin, a lot of it was based on the fact that I had so many limitations, and it was hard for me to do things. It was hard for me to do the things that I wanted to do. And the biggest reason I wanted to lose weight was not because I didn't love the look of my body, although that was certainly part of the equation, but it was because I couldn't participate in life the way that I wanted to. And I have since done that. And I am now in a spot where I no longer feel like my body holds me back in any way. I can't remember the last time that I wasn't able to do something or felt like I might not be able to do something because of my size. And I've mentioned many times before on my channel that I have more weight to lose. I've mentioned many times that I am not, done with everything. But at the same time, it's no longer this nagging thing in my life. It's no longer something that is front and center, the most important, or at least the most, like, the loudest thing in my life. I've been thinking about how I have been on this new journey, so to speak, since I quit my job, of focusing on my mental and physical health. And I have put a lot of effort in my mental health, and I have reached a place that I don't think I've ever reached before, and really started to understand myself and what I needed on a mental health level. Although I haven't been focusing so hard on my physical health, what I have noticed is that I don't have really bad habits creeping back in or anything. I'm just maintaining and kind of moving along and not really changing when it comes to my weight. And at first that was really bothering me. And then I tried to package it as, oh, well, I've lost 11 pounds since I quit my job. 11 pounds in 4 months is not that bad, but I haven't really lost anything somewhat recently. You can actually say that I lost those 11 pounds in 3 months, because the last month I haven't changed at all because I haven't been focusing on it. I've only been focusing on my mental health at this point. So when I was doing the math on it and everything, it was about a pound a week average. And I was like, that's actually great, because if I continue that average, you can lose 50 pounds in a year. And that is more than adequate for me. I would be ecstatic if that happened. And then the last month or so, I haven't been focusing on it, like I said, and I haven't been losing any weight. And so then I started to feel a little guilty about it again, although it was not the kind of guilt that I felt before. And I am attributing a lot of that to my new attitude and my medication. But ultimately, this is a long-winded way of saying that I really was realizing that I'm happy with where I'm at, even if I don't lose any more weight. I also had a realization that I have come to that realization before. And I was like, that seems awful familiar. And I went back and I watched my 4-year post-op update video, which was essentially the last video I posted before I came back to my channel. In that video, I mentioned that I think I've kind of said all I have to say when it comes to this process. And although there are probably some people out there who relate to my everyday thing and the vlogs and things I've been posting, ultimately, you aren't the audience for that. And in fact, I'm not really even sure what audience I'm doing this for. And I want to make sure that the people who have been following me and want to know how I'm doing can see that. But I don't think that this channel has really benefited from what I have come back and started posting, at least in the sense that it's just, I don't think this is the place for that. It's been fun to record myself every day. It's been fun to put the vlogs together. I actually very much like doing it. I treat it a little bit like a video diary, and I think it's fun to have a snippet of what I'm doing in my life. And I will say that it was very beneficial for me to see my life in a different lens. It obviously led to some major growth for me to be editing these vlogs together. So, I mean, it wasn't a waste of time or wasteful to do these vlogs. And I've had a lot of fun doing that. But I just don't think that that's the content I want to focus on anymore. And I don't think that it's really lending to the post-op narrative. There are a lot of people who really want to see how people are doing many years after surgery. And I thought that maybe I could contribute to that by showing people what my life is like. But I've really come to realize that there's only a handful of people who really care. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mind. But that's not really what they're looking for. People want sort of the stats. They want the quick and dirty update. They want to know numbers. They want to know what I look like now after surgery. That's fine. And when I first started, I was very open about that stuff, but I don't want to do that anymore. One of the comments on that old video of mine said, "Can we see your body?" And I thought, wow, how presumptuous and rude. Like, I don't owe anyone a full body shot of myself. And yet one of the reasons I started vlogging was to start to show myself moving around and interacting with my space, because so many of my videos have been like this, or honestly from here up. And I wanted to show myself. But it makes me feel like I'm putting myself on display. And not only that, it really is contributing in a way to this narrative that I need to lose weight, and, you know, look at me try to lose weight, and look at how far I've come, and look at how great I look now. You know, and this is where I have a hard time putting into words how I'm feeling and why I should have sat down and written something out. But the Biggest Loser documentary was sort of making me mull this over as well, which is that it really, the show's producers talked about how they wanted to highlight this obesity epidemic and, you know, people taking charge of their life. And we all know that's BS. That show just highlighted and contributed to all of the negative stigma and negative stereotypes about fat people. And I sometimes feel like having content that is focused on that is doing a similar thing. It is highlighting that there's something wrong with me. It's focusing on the fact that, you know, internally for the rest of my life, I am going to struggle with my weight. It's just, I said before, it's just the hand that I was dealt. It's just part of my life. I can't let my guard down or I will gain weight back again. It's a lot easier for someone like me to have that happen. I feel like I'm you know, contributing to this idea that if I get to a certain weight or if I get to a certain size, then I will be accomplished, or, you know, I'll be better, or I don't even know how to say it. One person in one of my old videos commented about how they feel like I should have lost more weight by now. Gosh, that was so long ago and on such a random video. And it didn't hurt my feelings, but it sort of highlights what people's attitudes are, right? Like, I'm on display here, and everyone else is going to decide if my surgery was successful or not, based off of what they perceive is a good enough result. And my life is so good. I can do everything that I want to do. I love myself. I really am at a body positive spot where I don't think about parts of me that I don't like. I don't think about, you know, my arms very often. I don't think or shy away from my stomach. When my husband hugs me and touches my fat rolls, I don't feel self-conscious about it. I am comfortable in my body, and I am proud of how much I've lost, and I'm even more proud of how much I've kept off, because that's the thing that I haven't been able to do ever before. I swear, every time I sit down to do a video, they are mowing next door. Every time. The grass isn't even growing that quickly anymore. So I apologize if you can hear the mower in the background, but I have a moment to film the second part of this video, and so I'm going to. I have been giving things a lot of thought, as naturally I do all the time. And I don't really want to stop filming on the channel, despite all of my complicated feelings about, being on display on YouTube and, contributing to this narrative of weight loss being the most important thing going on. Weight loss in any shape or form is relatable. It can be really important. I think context is key there. When weight loss and my weight in general was the cloud hanging over me constantly, it made sense to go about this the way that I was going about this. I am no longer, as I said, constantly thinking about my weight. It's no longer the first thing in the front of my mind, which I think is the ultimate goal when it comes to the weight loss surgery, when it comes to this whole process. For me, the goal was not to look a specific way or to get to a certain weight. So loud. The goal was to quiet my mind. I've mentioned this in other videos, but I've reached a point where I've become what I consider normal. I eat a normal portion. I get full and I stop eating, which is something that honestly never happened before. My full and my hunger cues have been reset, and I've been maintaining this weight loss for almost 5 years. I have lost 150 pounds. I have kept that off. That's something I've never done in my entire life. Not just lose that amount of weight, but keep it off and not regain it. I have gained 50 pounds in a 6-month period of time, more than once in my life. This is the most successful that I have ever been. And I am led to believe at this point that I have formed enough habits and changed my mind and my lifestyle enough. The success will maintain as long as I am putting this amount of effort into it. Could I lose more weight? Should I lose more weight? Will I lose more weight? I wouldn't be against it. I am in a weird place where I recognize that my weight right now, where I'm very happy at, is a lot of people's starting weight. When they're trying to lose weight or going into the bariatric surgery process. It's a weird place to be at, where I'm still considered overweight, but I'm perfectly happy where I'm at. I would not be upset at further weight loss, but I've lost enough of my life to being severely overweight that I'm ready, and I have been, living my life rather than worrying about what size I am or how much weight I need to lose. And that was the ultimate goal, which means that this surgery was successful for me and I am happy with the results. But I still think that it is relatable and important to have some representation of what life is like years and years after surgery, because that is something that is lacking sometimes. And from what I've seen as well, and there's absolutely no ill will meant to anybody about this, it's just a difference. A lot of the post-surgery, several years after surgery, content creators that are out there have gone through skin removal surgery and have detailed that process. And I have no intent and no desire
at least as of right now and as of the last 5 years, to ever pursue that. And so there is a strong desire on my part to continue to be a voice to show what one reality of life after surgery could be, in terms of what my experience is. I'm no longer going to do vlogs because I don't really think that it is what the intent of this channel was. And although I do occasionally talk about, post-surgery habits and different things, that's not been the focus. I want to get back to content about bariatric surgery and my life after that, and not in a vlog style. I'm going to be focusing on the habits that I have and am continuing to try to build after surgery, the things that I attribute to my success at maintaining this weight loss, cooking and recipes and, foods that I'm eating and things that I'm doing as someone who is progressively getting further and further away from their surgery date. I would like to continue posting so that people can see 5+ years after surgery, what one experience is and what life might be like. I know that there's a lot of people who watch my channel who are considering bariatric surgery, and I would like to show a glimpse of not just what is that healing process and, the direct aftermath of the surgery, what's that like, but what is life like for me down the road, because this is a permanent thing that we're doing, whether it be sleeve or bypass or something else. These are permanent surgical changes to our body, which means that we are left with permanent things. And I want to show not just what it was like to go through that process and to, initially lose that weight, but to maintain and to continue living my life with these permanent changes. And despite my best interest at heart, I do read every comment that comes through. So if there's anything in particular that you would like to see or have me cover on my channel in terms of life after bariatric surgery, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to comment or to reach out to me on Instagram, and I would be happy to include that in these videos. I want to make a space that is helpful for people, and I think that that's what I've landed on and why I was feeling like it wasn't quite what I wanted. It wasn't quite fulfilling the past few months. And it's because it's not really a space that is actually helping people. It's just me filming my life, and occasionally maybe I'll say something that I think is insightful. The whole point of my channel was to show my experience and to be a voice for, possibly people in my shoes, and to be helpful and to make things a little bit easier. For example, I covered a lot of the food that I was eating in my pre-op stage because I personally was overwhelmed, and I felt like there were so many restrictions on the menu that I was allowed to eat that I didn't even know where to begin. And so every time that I cooked something and thought of something and was successful, I posted it so that I could potentially be a resource for other people who were overwhelmed like me, frantically searching the internet trying to figure out what I could eat during that process. The whole idea is that I would like to just share my experience so that hopefully it is helpful for somebody else. So I'd like to get back to that. And if there's anything in particular that would be helpful, please let me know. And I would love to, again, just share my knowledge and my experience with this to try to help out. I've also been considering for a while a way to create a type of support community, how we might be able to come together to be more of a support group that is hopefully helpful and around people like-minded, because I know that these Facebook groups and things for bariatric support groups and post-op communities can be very toxic, which is why I left them and I haven't been a part of them for a very long time. So I will continue to think of steps to get us to that point. And if you have any ideas on how we can create a bariatric support community around here in a way that's actually helpful for people, I am considering maybe monthly live streams. So kind of knowing a day and a time that would be really good to do, maybe a monthly live stream where people can get together. If there's enough interest in maybe a Discord community where people can get together and talk with each other, I would love to explore those options. Let's create something together that we can all be really proud of and can be a lot more fulfilling than whatever it is I've been doing for the past few months. I'm going to kick it over to Past Stephanie to take us through the outro. But first, here is how cute my cat has been through this entire video. For those of you who have been watching and following me for a while, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been such an interesting experience for me. It's been very vulnerable for me to open myself up for that commentary and also, showing anyone who is watching all of the ups and downs in my life. But it's also been really rewarding to have some of you following me and rooting for me and, being proud of me to help me realize I should be proud of myself. So thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure you're looking at the big picture, make good choices, and I will see you in the next one.